Guys, this is Wolvie here with a special presentation on the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Global for the 8th of July 2019 here in the US of A. And you're kind of wondering, a special presentation, aren't you going to do cover stuff like you sometimes do? Actually, no, and something kind of inspired me to do this particular topic, which is my predictions and suggestions for Global's 70/70 Awakening schedule. Now, with this particular video, the first question is going to be asked when I ask it, will Global make changes to the 70/70 Awakening schedule? And if they do, the potential reasons why. And out of the potential reasons why, the potential angles they will go, and finally, I will give my personal suggestions on what they should be doing and the reasons why. So, the first and most important questions: will Global make changes to the 70/70 Awakening schedule once it comes later on this year? Yes. That is without a doubt in my mind. There will be changes because of how things have been different from Global versus JP. Now, the reasons why kind of will surprise some of you. And for me, I had to do a little research as to the reasons why the Global will be making whatever changes they'll need to make. So the first reason, and this is because this one is a Global first character, Beatrix, and the reason why she becomes the biggest reason is because Global will have the most flexibility in the 70/70 Awakening schedule, meaning that some characters can get delayed, some characters may get theirs pushed up. We simply don't know. And that is largely due to Beatrix and when her lost chapter comes to Global. And I did see the banner, like a snapshot of the banner for her JP event, all that stuff, which is completely different than what Global has, because with Global, it's Beatrix, Terra, and Kryl, if memory serves me right. Whereas on JP, it's Beatrix, Steiner, Vanille, and I think it's Vane. I want to say it's Vane on for Lost Chapter Synergy character for Beatrix on JP. So on the Global side, Beatrix will provide Global with the most amount of flexibility and additional justification for additional waves, if need be. The second reason, believe it or not, comes down to Abra Yunfeng. And the thing is with Abra Yunfeng, the reason why she becomes a bit of a factor into this is because of her banner. On JP, it was Fang, Tidus, and Yuna. On Global, they swapped out Tidus for Zell. Now, on JP, Zell's 70/70 Awakening in rework is actually tied to Ultimate Leviathan with Kryl. However, that Global can make a big change based on that. And again, this is when Tidus and Fang on JP get their 70/70 in rework at the same time. Zell's is tied with an Ultimate Esper trial. They can very well mix it up right then and there because both Ultimate Leviathan and Fang's Lost Chapter are actually close together schedule-wise. Now, a third reason here is none other than the third Awakening wave on JP. The third wave only had 6 characters altogether. One of them is tied to an Esper trial. There are 3 others. There are 3 others, so that's a grand total of 4. The 5th person is tied to the main story, and the 6th person actually got the rework in 70/70 Awakening ahead of their own Lost Chapter. So there is the reasons why Global could make those type of changes. Now, without any further ado, or delay, I should say, we're going to go into the potential changes. Now, you mentioned the reasons why they would do it. Now, which one of those, if any, would they change? So, in regards to Global versus JP, during the 60/60 era, JP had 9 waves, Global had 8. Now, the potential here for the potential change could continue that very trend because you have Lightning, Waka, Cyan, Shadow, and Hope. Those are the 5 characters remaining that do not have their 70/70 awakening and or rework at this point on JP. Meaning that JP likely has a 10th wave coming next month. And Lightning is actually a very popular character, contrary to some degree of popular belief. There are quite a few YouTube videos that people could look up for top 10, top 5, top 15, top 20 most liked Final Fantasy characters, male and or female. And Lightning is on a lot of those lists. Some of those lists, especially if it's the top 10 females or top 5 females, some of them she actually owns the top spot. But for some reason, JP is holding off on her 70/70 awakening on Opera Omnia. Some people probably were wondering why that is. I mean, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing something very special with her. We'll see in that regard. So, and that kind of ties into the potential change on Global. They're probably going to be adding more people into waves, whether it's the batch itself, on top of the stuff that's associated with the Lost Chapters character events and possible main story. But it's like and that's adding on, so that means you have less waves. So another potential change would be Beatrix. Again, like I said, she brings the most flexibility. With Global doing their own thing, and as opposed to JP on some aspects of the content, Beatrix provides Global with at least three potential possibilities of how many waves and a possible justification for the 10th wave if need be. So, a potential option Global can go would be altering the Lost Chapter Synergy character for varying character events that her Lost Chapter would affect. Meaning that Leonhardt would be the Lost Chapter Synergy character for Garland. Fang would be the Lost Chapter Synergy character for Ultimecia. That type of altering, because Beatrix would be the Lost Chapter Synergy character for the event that Leonhardt was supposed to be on. That could very well do that. That could be one possibility. Another possibility is when Beatrix gets her Lost Chapter, she becomes the Lost Chapter Synergy character for a second character that becomes Global first. And with it, and I do read some stuff on Facebook. People are talking about Riku from Final Fantasy X and X-2, Minwoo from Final Fantasy II and Red 13. I hear more talks of them as wanting to come to Global than most others. So I won't be surprised if one of those 3 characters becomes the second person to join the Global first thing with Beatrix. And that way, the Lost Chapter Synergy characters remains on course with proper character events. Meaning that Fang would be still Lost Chapter for Garland. Deuce remains Lost Chapter Synergy for Ultimecia. If you catch my drift right there. Now, a third angle here. This is kind of a bit of a left field type of option, but if you think about it, it makes some degree of sense. Her Lost Chapter is severely delayed, and by that, hers comes after France. And if this happens, Global will have much more justification for 10 waves. Meaning that the time, like with the whole thing with is transition to certain difficulties, it's a bit smoother that way. Now, another potential change would evolve around Fang's Lost Chapter, because again, Global did a character swap, because Global released Tidus's EX weapon early, as in ahead of schedule. So, with that in mind, Fang it'll be Fang getting her 70/70 and rework on her lost chapter, but the $1 million question would be is, will Zell get his rework and 70/70 alongside Fang, or will he remain with the ultimate Leviathan trial? There's another potential change, because if Zell gets his 70/70 and rework alongside Fang on her lost chapter, that means the ultimate Leviathan trial, there's going to be a major switch in regards of who gets to replace Zell as Super Synergy. And that's something, I'm going to be intrigued as to what Global's going to do at that, when it gets to that point, because Ultimate Leviathan is the first Ultimate Esper trial under the Chaos difficulty. Fang's Lost Chapter is the first Lost Chapter with the Chaos difficulty. And again, this alongside Beatrix gives Global a lot more flexibility and much more justification for 10 ways if it has to go there. Now, with my personal suggestions, I actually enjoyed when Global did less waves than JP. And it was a genius move to have 7 characters in the 7th wave. Because, I could tell that people don't really like doing this for too long. Don't like to drag things out. And I would like to see Global continuing that trend in that regard. Now, with the 3rd wave, I kind of hinted at certain things here and there, but this is where I'm going to be making the majority of my suggestions. Majority of my suggestions in this regard. The 3rd wave is 70/70. So what happened on JP was Locke got his 70/70 in rework ahead of his lost chapter. My suggestion in that regard is keep the rework, but delay his 70/70 to his lost chapter, because it puts things out of... I was looking at the order on JP on the Dissidia database website. It felt very out of order. And it was a personal waste of space for the 70/70 Awakening batch at that point. Now, my only other option here would be if Locke still gets a 70/70 and rework on Global when the 3rd wave hits, they should probably add Titus in there at the same time. Because having a character event unit to get their rework and 70/70 Awakening ahead of their lost chapter, to me it makes zero sense. You're making more waves. Things get a little out of order, and I just don't like things like that. So another suggestion within the 3rd Awakening wave is Noel. That's a wasted slot right there with JP. Noel is a main story character, Act 2-5 to be exact, is that he's put there as an Awakening wave, which again makes no sense, because when it comes to main story characters, they really should not be a part of the Awakening wave they're going to debut in. And by that, and Pain from Final Fantasy X-2, is an excellent example. When she debuted with Act 2-4 is when the 70/70 era began. She came in at 70/70, but did not take up a slot on the Awakening roster. And this is where I really felt JP dropped the ball, is by putting a main story character that is yet to that shows up in that wave, take up a slot like that. And again, this is why part of the reason why I feel that JP has a 10th wave coming. And again, it's just like you're not really giving JP players much time to adjust, to the whole 70/70 thing. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion on the matter. So for Noel, my suggestion would be yes to the 70/70, but as something like Pain, not taking up a slot. And now the other person and this is tied into the Ultimate Esper trial, Setzer. He's tied into the Ultimate Ramu trial, and I will say this for Setzer. Yes to 70-70, but it's something entirely different. Because with Locke, Noel, and Setzer wasted space like that on JP for this third wave of 70-70, it's just that you're creating too big of a mess. And Global has to look at this and make changes to fix it. And to me, being a global player, the less mess I have to deal with, the better I can play the game. That's just my personal opinion. And in the description alongside this video will be the link to the Dissidia database website. So to recap my suggestions, so 1, less waves. They have more characters like with each wave, so that way we don't have to deal with some mess that JP had created. 2, and with my personal thing with Beatrix, the most logical would be that she gets her LC, whenever Leon, to delay, not by much though, to delay Leon and Fang, to give the global players more time in the Cosmos era. So, yeah, so with no delay on Beatrix and her lost chapter. And I will say, and have a more, have some alteration with the Lost Chapter Synergy characters for varying character events. That's probably a bit more of a logical move. However, I will not be opposed to see her Lost Chapter being the one after France to give Global more justification for the 70-70 era. And with Fang, and again with the recap with Fang, I'm going to see Titus, Zell, and I'm going to see there's going to be a flip-flop in the Ultimate Leviathan. Kryle's still getting her 70-70, but somebody else. It could be Titus. Could be Titus through the Ultimate Leviathan. It could be another person that takes Zell's spot. We don't know what Global's going to do there. And that is that on that. Where I will conclude this video. And with Wolvie here signing off. I will catch you on the flip side.